This story is brought to you by tapeatale.com.
He gifted me fairy lights on my birthday. Although I loved those yellow little lights, the young girl inside me said, out of all the things he could have gifted me, he chose this. But realizing how uncool it is to think this way and looking at the determination with which he hanged them on my cupboard, I gladly accepted them. I think it's clear that he wasn't the smartest when it came to gifting people, but that's how he was. Very different from majority of guys I'd ever met or dated. We met each other for the first time at a poetry event on 13th of Feb 2017. He was wearing a white shirt, his hair was falling on the right side of his face, and his long, beautiful fingers were moving too much as he stood on the stage speaking. And I kid you not, it felt like someone kept a platter full of rasgullas in front of me that I couldn't do anything about because it didn't mingle that night. 2nd May 2017. He texted me at 11:33 p.m. complimenting one of the poems I wrote, and I said thank you. It was 11:34 now. This boy had read the message but wasn't initiating anything more. It was 11:35 and I was getting really impatient, so I impulsively typed, I like your name, full stop. I like your name, seriously? And before I could make this conversation worse, he replied, thanks. I like your name too. Full stop, heart emoticon. I read the message and I was like, it worked. Anyway, we kept chatting the entire night and oh, what a joy it is flirting with a poet. We decided to meet the next day. We decided on the meeting spot. The next evening, I'm waiting for him at this place and I see that platter of rasgulla walking towards me. And trust me, every single minute I spent with him after that felt like I was watching my favorite comedy show. And every time he gently touched the homeless strands of my hair, it felt like I'm sitting in the first class compartment near the window seat with cold breeze royally tangling my hair. Needless to say, we started dating shortly after. We had tons of happy moments. There were a lot of instances where I embarrassed myself in front of him or cried in front of him. We had a share of fights and arguments. We took time to learn and understand things about each other, accepted the flaws that came with loving the other person, and we found out our strongest pursuits and the weaker ones. We celebrated our birthdays together. I got gifted fairy lights, and I realized that gifting is not his strongest pursuit. But as time passed, we became better versions of ourselves. It was my birthday again. And considering my last year's experience and the fact that I'd become a better person, I had no fascination for any materialistic thing whatsoever, I did not expect a lot from him this time. He came home at 12, we cut the cake, and then he asked me to close my eyes and keep my palms open. So I did. A minute later, he placed something on them. I opened my eyes and saw a glass jar beautifully decorated with ribbons. And I thought to myself, progress. I turned the jar around and the label on it said, I love your name. Surprised, I opened the jar and I saw a lot of paper chits kept on one another in a very neat fashion. I smiled at him and took the first chit out. She likes keeping everything in symmetry, even the notes in a wallet. That's unusual. I was very impressed by his observation skills, but like I said, didn't know how to gift. I opened another chit. She compares me to food items and I know how much he loves food. Sweet. I opened the third one. She remembers the dates of almost every important moment in our relationship. And another. She says I have artist's fingers. And all of them. She cries every time she sees a dog that resembles her own. She looks so pretty while putting her bindi or her kajal. She never forgets to wear jhumkas every time she wears a kurti. She writes poems for me when I'm upset. She calls me an idiot and I like it. She thinks I don't know how to gift people. She's right. But I remember how beautiful her eyes looked in all the pictures she clicked standing next to the fairy lights I gifted her last year. And I remember the glimpse of sadness that I saw in those eyes when they stopped working last month. She loves fairy lights, and I love her. I didn't know how to deal with this sudden burst of emotions. And before I could react, he opened another box and presented to me a brand new pair of yellow lights. And he hanged them on my cupboard with the same determination. He gifted me fairy lights on my birthday. Again. But this time, the young girl inside me said, out of all the people he could have loved, he chose me. And obviously, that was the best birthday gift I've ever received. Thank you.